Hi, welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea, episode 298. I'm Laura, also known as Fluffyk on Ravelry, Fluffykira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop where I sell my handspun yarns and my patterns. And we do have a Ravelry group, although we are not currently using it that much because of the user issues with Ravelry. So that is where you can find me. Hello, it is Monday, October 5th. It is a brisk fall day here. It is in the 60s. It has been nice and crisp. This weekend we saw a couple friends and we socialized outdoors in their backyard, and they had gotten a fire pit, and so we cooked s'mores and sat outside, and it was really cold. I got cold after a little while. Because it was down in the 40s, that's Fahrenheit. I am coming to you from just outside of Kansas City. I live on the Kansas side, but there are people who live on the Missouri side as well. Kansas kind of sprung up around the Missouri River, which divides Kansas and Missouri. So we've got kind of a metro area that encompasses both states. So I know that was kind of a lot of weird things put together, but I hope that you are doing well. I have had a really good week, a really productive week. Unfortunately, I can't show you most of what I was working on, so I did scramble a little bit in the last day or two to put some work in on projects that I can show you. I am working on a sample for knit picks that I am not allowed to share, so that is what has been taking most of my time, but I think that's going to finish up this week, so that will open me up to working on some more projects in October. So this week I socialized a little bit more than I have been, and probably a little bit more than I should, the way it ended up working out. So I am now going to stay home for the next couple weeks, absent a couple really important errands like groceries for food and picking up prescriptions. But I'm really going to make an effort to stay indoors for the next couple weeks. On Tuesday, last Tuesday, so the day after I talked to you, I went up, actually no, it was Wednesday? No, it was Tuesday. I went up to the City Girl Farm studio. That is where we make all of the chickens, and we all wore our masks, and there were only 3 of us, but it was really good to see them. I haven't physically seen them in months, even though I have been working on chickens. We haven't met in the studio. We've just been mailing supplies back and forth. So they mail me some supplies, I do some stuff, and then I turn them in. And it's a really interesting group of artists, particularly fine art and, seamstresses, people who have been curators in art galleries. It's just people who have a lot of different knowledge than the kind of knowledge I have about crafting. And so it's a really inspirational group of women, and we sat and we talked for just a little under an hour, and we came up with some ideas for some new chickens, and so it was really food for the soul. It's interesting. I generally think of myself as having been fine with a lot of the isolation. I was already working from home before, so not going to the office every day doesn't bother me. But all of a sudden, with 2 social events in 1 week, when I haven't been socializing really much at all since March, it was like, wow, yeah, this is how it used to be. Getting to talk to people and create together, and yeah. So then when I said we went out to a friend of ours turned 40 this weekend, and so it was him and 3 or 4 other people, and then Wes and me, and we all we met, we had a barbecue, we sat around the fire pit and made s'mores, we stayed outdoors, wore our masks when we weren't eating, but it was also just a nice time to sit and hang with friends. So like I said, that has been really good. Now we're going to stay in and not share anything we may have gotten with anyone else. And we're going to hope that everyone's going to stay healthy. And like I said, not go out again for the next couple weeks. So lots more crafting to come. So let's talk about what I have been working on. This will probably be a slightly shorter episode because I don't have a ton to show you. But hopefully in the next week or 2, I will have more projects to share with you. Today's tea is Nirvana. Doesn't that sound lovely? It is It is from the American Tea Room Los Angeles via Tea Runners. It was a selection probably at least a year ago, if not more. It is a combination of sencha style green tea, peony petals, berries, and figs. It's sweet and lightly floral, and I actually have had this before. It's got green tea, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, figs, and peony petals. So this is from Tea Runners. They do have some tea on their site now, and they are still doing subscription boxes if you are interested. And today I'm drinking it in my roastery coffee mug. This is because this is the mug I grabbed last night when I made a cup of tea, and it was still on the counter, so I washed it out and used it again today. So that is delicious. It's kind of sweet and fruity, and I don't get a lot of the peony petals, which is good because I'm not a real floral person, but it's sweet and fruity. I added just a touch of sugar, but it's sweet and fruity and a nice afternoon pick-me-up. So let's talk about the knits. This week I started and finished one knit. That is a hat for Miss Roxy. This is the Hermione Loves Ron hat. I chose it because it goes along with my sort of Harry Potter themed ensemble for Miss Roxy. She has been reading Harry Potter and is very excited. She's going to go as Hermione for Halloween. But I was knitting her a set. I knit her a long Harry Potter scarf, and actually since I finished that early enough, that will accompany her birthday gift and be part of her Halloween costume. So score one for Aunt Laura helping mom put together the Halloween costume. This I will send later on, but this is a fun cabled hat. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's only available in one size. It calls for sport weight yarn, and so what I did is I knit it in fingering weight yarn, and I left out a couple of the repeats. It's a pretty simple hat, and you've just got these cabled and lace panel repeats. And so the modification I did is I did the coordinating color, or the contrasting color at the brim. I just like that. It adds a nice touch, and I had enough of the yellow left over, and then I knit the hat basically per pattern, except for the fact that I cast on a few fewer stitches and knit it in fingering weight. And so I think it's going to be perfect for her. I have not decided yet if I want to add a pom-pom. I might. I generally do add pom-poms to the hats, but I just love the way the cables on this one flow into the hat, the decreases. So I don't know whether I want to, I just love the way the crown is set up on this. So I don't know whether I'm going to put a pom-pom on it or not. If I do, I'll probably mix the red and yellow. I used Barocco Superfine wool for this, and it is 100% superwash merino, and it has gentle machine wash and tumble dry low heat on there, and so I picked it specifically because it was excellent for easy care. So I have enough left over that I'm going to do some mittens for Roxy. I have not 100% decided on what mittens I'm going to do. I'm ever running out on time as I start to accept more projects for the fall, so they may just be plain red mittens with some yellow details. My goal is to try and use up most of the yarn, so we'll see how that goes. I did do the hat in fingering weight. The scarf was in fingering weight as well, but it is doubled because it's knit in a tube, so when you press it flat, it is a double thickness, so it's super warm. For the mittens, I will most likely double them. If I don't do the color work, which basically makes 2 layers thick, I will double the fingering weight and make worsted weight mittens just so that they're a little bit warmer, because I am a little worried about this hat will be a little bit cool with the lace in it. I don't think I'm gonna knit a liner, but that's where I'm at with that. So Miss Roxy has a hat, she needs mittens, and then her ensemble will be done. So let's talk about what else I worked on this week. I went ahead and picked up my sweater yesterday and decided I would work on it all day and see how far I got. So this is the Elfie sweater by Astrid Schramm. I am knitting it in 2 colorways, which are Spun Right Brown, the Walkers on her 80/20, which is merino and nylon in her sport weight, and it is in the colorway the Walkers, so it's gray, and then it has pops of purple and green and yellow, and then my contrast color is Kim Dye's yarn Tartlet Sport in Plumstruck. So those are the two colors that I'm using. As I said, I'm modifying this pattern. I don't know that I'm modifying it super heavily, but I am making a decent number of changes, so I suppose. I don't think it changes the look that much, but yeah. So I did start with a collar at the top. It's just a 2x2 rib. Basically, I cast on everything and did the 2x2 rib in the plum struck for 1 inch. I was hoping that that would help a little bit because the gray is very washed out for me and I am pretty pale, and so it makes me look kind of ill and sickly, and I was hoping that by having the purple right next to my face, that would fix that a little bit. So I did pick this up yesterday, and when I started, I had about 10 or... well, no, I had about 8 or 9 inches on the body, and by the time I was done yesterday, I had between 15 and 16. So I knit a ton yesterday. This is knit on size 6s, and it is sport weight, so it has been knitting up a little bit faster. I believe I am basically knitting the smallest size, and I think I did that because that's the number that I started with based on the gauge that I was getting, to hope that the sweater would come out about right. It is a top-down contiguous sleeve, so you're working them at the same time, and then kind of a body with some minimal A-line shaping. So to get to the punchline, I finished the body. It's curling up at the hem. It just needs to be blocked now. I did do the slight A-line on the sweater, so I'm really, really pleased that it is nice and loose around my stomach region, which is something that I do not like to emphasize. You know, that's one of those parts that I like things to not be skin tight at. So it's nice and loose. The first pattern that I knit with this was much more form-fitting, and that was part of the problem that I had with it. So I finished it down at the bottom with about 1.5 inches of the 2x2 ribbing again in the plum struck. So that is doing really well. I tried it on last night and this morning, and I really like it. And the next on the list are sleeves. And I can't decide. I need to sit with it for another maybe night or two and figure out. Basically, Elfie was written to be knit without sleeves. And so I am just adding sleeves, and it is sort of a cross between the contiguous sleeve and raglan, so there are enough stitches there to be picked up for sleeves, and I did that, and I started to decrease rather rapidly because I thought there would be too many there, and the sleeve is not, I won't say it's skin tight, but it is very form-fitting, and it's much thinner with a little bit less, it has less ease than the rest of the sweater. So what I haven't decided is whether or not I'm going to go back. This didn't take me that long to do. It was just like one evening's knit night, so maybe an hour or two, and I may go back and pull it out and decrease at like half the rate that I was. It looks like I was decreasing maybe every 8 or 10 rounds, and that was just because I don't like a lot of bulk under the arm, you know, especially where the sleeve connects to the armpit. You really don't want a lot of bulk there, and so I was convinced that I needed to take some of those stitches out fairly quickly, so I started doing decreases basically as soon as I started. Also because since it's a raglan sleeve, it's already slightly down on my arm, like it's not a set-in sleeve, so I'm not like starting right from up here. Anyway, I think, like I said, I think I will probably rip back and decrease it maybe half the rate, because I already have, just in this like 6 inches, I have, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 sets of decreases. I was decreasing about every inch, so I think I'm going to decrease every 2 inches. And then I will just knit the sleeves. I have plenty of yarn. I have this big old ball of yarn for the 2 sleeves. So I should have plenty for the sleeves, and then I will also do cuffs in the plum struck. So I don't think this will get done this week, but it is there, and I do plan to finish it before I cast on another sweater, and I plan to finish this one before I cast on another sweater for myself. I do have a sample that's coming that's a sweater, but because that is paid work, I may work on that before I finish this one, but I will definitely not cast on another sweater for myself before I finish this one. That is my rule. And so I need to finish this one by the end of the month because I would like to cast on a sweater for Nanny Swaymo. So this, you will definitely see it again this month. The 2 sleeves are a project that I should be able to crank out with just a few evenings worth of work if I really sit down and do it. So I just need to sit down and do it. So, but I am pleased that I made progress on that because that has been sitting and waiting. I haven't touched it probably in at least a month. And what was happening was I was knitting the sleeve and I wondered if the sleeve was too tight. And so I went back to knitting on the body because if I wanted to try it on, I either needed to finish the body or I needed to put it on waist yarn again and take it off and try it on. And I just decided that I was going to finish the body and get it done so that now I can work on the sleeves and I can try it on anytime I would like without having to move it to waist yarn or do anything different, so that I can make sure that I get the sleeve the way I want it. The first sleeve will be a bit of experimentation. The second sleeve will hopefully be a duplicate of the first, and then I'll have a finished sweater, and I'm super excited about that. It also needs a good wash because I can't decide what it was in with. It might have been in with a fabric sheet or something, but it is quite scented, and I'm ready to stick it in a wool wash. It doesn't smell bad, it's just very scented, and I suspect that what I did was I stuck a dryer sheet in with the yarn because I was trying to keep moths out. And, and any other kinds of fiber-loving creatures. So it is heavily scented, and I would really like to wash it and be done with it. I will probably have some yarn left over, and I don't know exactly what I'll do with it. I might make a pair of socks, might just make a hat to donate, not sure, but I am excited because that is some yarn that's been in stash for a while. It tried to be a sweater a couple years ago for Nanny Swaymo and didn't work, so to have it turned into a sweater and kind of out of my stash permanently, I will be really thrilled about that. So lastly, something that I talked about last week and I literally cast on right before bed last night and just knit about an inch, if even that, I think it's right around an inch, is I started on my dad's socks. I think I decided that I'm just going to do a simple 2x2 rib for the entire cuff, and then the top of the foot and then the bottom of the foot will be stockinette. I am using Barocco Comfort Sock, and I chose Comfort Sock because it is one of the few sock yarns out there that has no wool in it at all, and my dad is allergic to wool. So Barocco Comfort Sock is 50% superfine nylon, 50% superfine acrylic. It is 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, 447 yards. It is super inexpensive. I got this ball for under $10 from Webs. And it is a nice sock yarn. It is a little bit slippery because it's acrylic and nylon. So I find that my tension has been a little weird with it, and it also doesn't have the wool to really pull it back into shape. So it's a little bit looser than wool socks, but I think it will still be fine. I knit him a pair out of it a few years ago, and he seemed to like them, so hopefully he wasn't just putting me on. The colorway that I am using, I don't believe it has a name, it just has a number, and it is mostly blues with some grays and just a little bit of green and yellow, and this is what I've got so far. I told you I do not have much at all. This is going to be my Zoom conversation and meeting project for a little while. I did pull out the other crochet blanket, but I decided I'm going to get through a few more things in October before I start working on that again, and I still should have time to complete that as well. So I think I'm going to put this one right next to my computer, and this is what I'm going to work on when I'm on my computer and have a little bit of downtime, or like I said, a Zoom call or something where I can knit. I don't have to pay full attention, or, I don't have to take notes, or, where the person on the other end will understand what I'm doing. So that is the other project that I have. I did pull out yarn for another project this week, and I pulled it out even though I don't think I'm going to have time this week, but I'm really, really, really going to try making time, and that is I have a friend who gave me two balls of Cascade Heritage, and Heritage is Cascade's sock yarn. It is 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon. It is 100 grams and 437 yards. So that's the label right there, and these are the two that I have. I have said in the past, I do not really support Cascade Yarns. They have posted some things in the past that are not friendly to all folks, and so I choose not to support them. However, these skeins were given to me by a friend who didn't want them anymore and knew that I do lots of charity knitting and wanted me to be able to turn them into something productive. And so the reason I pulled them out this week is because I would really, really, really like to knit another hat or two to donate to a good cause. A shop that I work for collects hats and hands out hats on Halloween to special needs children. And I don't know if they are going to be able to do that this year, but they are still collecting them in the hopes that they can either be sanitized and then sent, or that they can do something with it. This is something they've been doing for a while. It's called Sooner Success, and the store is Sealed with a Kiss. It is a Rowan flagship store down in Guthrie, Oklahoma. And like I said, they are connecting hats. They are collecting hats. I knit the little orange one a couple weeks ago, and my hope is to use this fingering yarn doubled and knit a couple more in that pattern. That was Daniel's hat, and it was designed by Laura Chow, and it is available for free on Isolde Teague's blog. I know that's a lot of name dropping, but I'm trying to put in all my details. Anyway, my hope is that I will be able to knit 1 or 2 hats this week. I really need to ship those out because Halloween is coming up, and so I feel like I need to get them done by the end of next weekend, show them to you, get them in an envelope, and get them out. So my plans are finish the sample this week, finish 1 or 2 more hats this week. I'm hoping to maybe get some work in on the socks, to get some work in on this sweater, and I do know that I have a box of yarn coming this week for another sample. There will be yarn in there to finish the Zen Yarn Garden shawl that I got stuck on where I ran out of yarn, and so my hope is that maybe I can finish that this week, and then next week I will start with a whole new set of projects. So I have a bunch of things I'm trying to finish up this week and crank out, and hopefully I can show most of them to you next week when I come back. The last thing that I wanted to talk about was spinning. And last week I told you that I wasn't going to spin this week, that I was going to focus on knits. Well, that didn't entirely happen because when I went to the City Girl Farm studio this week, I got a new chicken to spin for. So currently I am spinning chicken yarn, and that will continue for at least another week. I probably have about almost 2 pounds left to spin. So far I've spun probably half a pound. And the next chicken is actually going to be red and white. So I have been spinning this cherry red. It is not specifically for Christmas, but the next flock is going to come out as the winter flock right before Christmas. So they decided to do a red and white chicken. So I will be doing red and white pinstripes and feathers, and I will be spinning lots of red and some white. I started on the red because actually I had some leftover white from the last chicken. So I need to start adding these into my nightly knitting routine as well. So yes, I have lots and lots and lots to do. I think I'm going to need more hours in the day. So that is all I have to share with you today. I'm sorry that it's not as much interesting to look at as it is sometimes. Hopefully I will have more things I can share with you next weekend. And once I finish this sample that I am sort of spending almost all of my time on, the one that I can't show you, I'll get rid of it and then I'll send it back from whence it came, and then the next couple things I work on, I have another sweater to cast on for Zen Yarn Garden, and so that one you will get to see me do. So that is what I've got. I still, as I talked to you about last week, I still have a pair of socks for Miles, I still have a hat for Miles, I have Roxy's mittens, and I think that might be it for the month. I just feel like I'm already running out of month and it's only October 5th. So, I hope you had a wonderful weekend and you are starting off your week. May you nourish your soul with your crafting. May you occasionally step out into the world and have some social interaction that fuels you. I hope you are staying safe and well and healthy, and that this half hour can be a little pick-me-up in your week. Thank you so much for sharing this time with me. I know you have tons of podcast options and tons of content out there, and of course you could be doom scrolling Twitter and Facebook and finding out how many terrible things are happening in the world, but I appreciate that you take the time to come listen to me and see what I'm working on. I would love to know what you're working on. Please always feel free to contact me. My email is thecornerofknitandtea@gmail.com. You can certainly leave comments for me on social media, on YouTube in the comments, and I hope that you are doing well. Until I see you next time, I will say as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.